I'm Victoria. I'm Vanessa. Yeah, it's okay if you can't tell us apart. I guess we would call it Twingineering. Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to our 16th episode of Twingineering.
By the time we release this episode, it's going to be a year since we released our first episode. So we've made it through 16 episodes this year. We've been wanting to upload probably a little bit more frequently, but we did what we could with the time that we had, and are just doing our best. So
yes,
yeah, it does. So if you don't know, our podcast was made to be a resource for Latinas and first-generation minorities in engineering by providing advice, any knowledge, some testimonies from us or some of our guests, and more. But yeah, we just hope to be a resource to our listeners.
Yes.
So we'll get right into it unless you want to say something, Vanessa.
No, thanks for everyone who has been listening so far. Yes.
Very important.
Yeah, if this is the first time, if you listen to episode 16, this is the first episode you listen to. God, why was that so hard to say? Welcome. But yeah, let's just get started.
Okay. So we're gonna start off with some weekly highs and lows. That's how we usually start off our podcast. Just to get the conversation flowing, and the mind. Okay. So, Vanessa, do you want to start with highs and lows?
Yeah, we'll start off with the lows and then we'll bring up the energy. So my weekly low is that it has gotten to single digit weather in Ohio, specifically where I live. Today it is, I think, what did I say? Like,
you said it felt like -17?
Yeah, right now it's 4, but there's wind. That wind, man. So yeah, I'm staying in and I hope it just warms up. I don't know. It's not looking thing. But yeah, what's your low?
My low is, I think I posted on my Instagram story, but like I spammed my manager this week with emails about a raise on accident. I was like already really nervous because I had sent like original email like last week and then he like didn't respond and I was like, oh, let me just follow up. Anyways, and then I just like kept messing up the email or like sending it to the wrong person, and like I just ended up sending him like 3 emails, like
Nice.
and I was like, okay, well, I mean, he was like, no worries, but I was like, it was just a very embarrassing moment for me, like, and no one even, it was just like me to myself. I was just going through it by myself in that moment, but
Yeah,
we made it out, guys. We made it out.
that's all that matters.
So in case you ever want a response on a raise, spam your manager. You'll get one.
Be like, oopsie.
Sorry, too many.
Okay, so then my high is that I recently did my hair. So I dyed like the inside gray and I cut it pretty much like shoulder length. If you were only listening, just imagine that you can't really see it. But I'm going lighter. I just like a lighter gray than I have right now. I just couldn't do all of it at once because it was like virgin hair and they didn't want my hair to fall off. I mean, it was like reacting or like responding okay, but just to be safe. So part 1. But yeah, what's yours?
Nice. Yeah, my hair has like died out a little bit since, yeah. But mine is that I finished a book, and I'm starting another one. My first book is Freedom is a Constant Struggle by Angela Davis. It was a good book. It wasn't super long, so I think that's why I was like able to read it, but I also liked reading it. So book 1 done.
Yay.
Yeah. So next thing we're gonna do is talk about something that we learned in our current role or something new that we tried this week. I'll start. So I'm gonna say something that I tried. So yesterday I tried making like a new coffee or like the new process with this instant espresso. I've always bought instant coffee or like I've never bought instant espresso is what I'm trying to say. So yesterday I made it. It was pretty good. Um my next step would be to add honey in the espresso and see how that tastes. So very excited because I haven't made my coffee yet today.
Nice, nice. You know, I went bowling yesterday, and on the screen it said that honey is like one of the, I don't know if it's the only or one of the only foods that doesn't like go bad.
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure you've had our honey for like ever. It's
Yeah.
just there.
And then it was like, what's black and bad for your teeth? The bowling ball.
That's, yeah. I mean, they're not wrong.
Right. Anyways, something that I learned, so I went back to pottery. We were like on like a winter break type thing. And I had my class again on Monday. And this time my teacher said, like she gave us a note on like how to pull like the clay when it's on the wheel. And she was saying that like when you're at the bottom, you apply more pressure, like in your fingers, and then like as you go up, like you like decrease the pressure. So like you kind of let go a little bit, but like not fully. And I feel like that helped me so much because I was like I would press hard the whole time and then like they just like come out all weird and like they weren't good. But then I made like three solid bowls on Monday and I was like, wow, I'm
That's
doing
good.
great. So yeah, learning a lot in pottery.
Yeah. Um, make me a bowl.
I did make you something, I just couldn't get it to you.
Oh, yeah, for Christmas. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what it is.
Um, Vanessa's starting her own business, guys. Just kidding.
What?
No, of like, what is it? Like kitchenware? I was just
Oh
kidding,
yeah.
man. It's a joke.
If you want unique, definitely unique kitchenware. Let
Put
me,
in your request. Um, yeah.
you have to pay for shipping. Anyways. Okay.
Uh, so now we can get into our theme for this episode, which is basically our anniversary. So we're going to be touching on, some updates, things that we learned, our highlights. And we'll ask you if there's anything you want to hear.
Yeah.
So, since last year, or since our first episode, um, I have been 1 year into my job. I don't know if I said that right, but anyways, so last year I was barely starting my job. That's what I was trying to say. So I just hit my 1 year on January 3rd.
Yeah, 1 year.
Yeah, which is why I was like sending emails about raises. But yeah, it's been pretty good. Um, I think I would say the same that I said like when I first started. Like the environment's pretty good, and that now I've switched over more to like working in the lab instead of like the office, which I prefer because there's like really big windows and so there's always like light and it's more hands-on.
Mm,
So far so good.
that's good. That's very good. Sorry what I wrote, sorry. Okay, so I guess for me, like last year, I was like 6 months into my program. And I guess also my job. That's the
Yeah.
same thing. So and then like now I'm gonna graduate from this program, like the rotation program, in like 2 weeks. So I reached like the end, like I'm no longer rotating. I'm back in like my home department. I'm basically like in the full-time role. Just like I still have to do like final presentation stuff. Um, and yeah, I would say the same. Like I um do enjoy like my work environment. Um, I think I like the work has definitely picked up a little bit. And
Yeah,
sometimes I'm just like, please, I'm just a girl.
I get
But
it.
but then it's like I wouldn't want to not be busy. Um, and I think like now I fully like understand like what my role consists of. I think even though like I was like 6 months in like last year, it was still like a lot of training, and because I was like in the program, it's like they didn't give me like full responsibilities yet because it's like I would be leaving and coming back.
Yeah,
So now it's like, okay, I'm kind of more in the role of things. So yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed it. I've been through a full winter, second winter here. Yeah,
yeah,
make it out.
yeah,
Yeah, I guess like we could also talk about like what we've learned throughout the year.
yeah. For me, I think the biggest thing has been like speaking up, um, or like just like asking, like or like putting in my input. I think that's something that I've grown to be more comfortable with, and like even now, sometimes I'm like, but what if I say something dumb? Like I have once, and then they didn't hear me though, and I was like, oh wait, nothing. Like I realized in my head, I was like, why the heck would I add? Like it was just a thought that came, and I was like, no, like that wasn't a developed thought. Anyways, but yeah, I think I've gotten more comfortable, and it's like helped. Um, a lot of the stuff that like I put out there has like helped or like is beneficial, or like has kept things moving faster. So like, it's good that I've been less hesitant to do that. Um, and yeah, asking questions. I know we mentioned this like in a pod, like probably many episodes, like ask questions. Um, and I recently heard like you don't get like more points or like more money for asking the least amount of questions. So like,
Mm,
and it's true, like you don't. So just ask them. Like,
yeah.
I think that was my biggest thing. Um, and then sometimes just like taking initiative. Like I would be scared to do that. I'm like, oh my God, like, but because there's an engineer that I work with, and I'm like, should I respond? Like, should I just act on this? Like, what if he needs to do it first? But they don't
Mhm.
always have to. So that was another thing.
Yeah. Um, a lot of this like similar for me, like asking questions. I think also just like being more confident in like my position there.
Hmm.
Um, I think it could be like some days I'm like pretty intimidated for like no reason. And then there's days where like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna go into this meeting like confident, like I know what I'm talking about, whatever. It's just like there's just those days where you're like, I don't know, you know? But it's like you're never gonna know everything, you know? Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think also like when like work started to pick up, I was like, oh, like how do I deal with this, you know? Because like I think in college it was like a different kind of like pace, like trying to figure out how to like work around that. But then like in this position, it's like different. So it's like, okay, how do I
Hmm.
manage it in a way that'll like work best for me? Um, and I just kind of like I always I felt or like I wanted to feel like I completed things
Hmm.
and like I could like finish everything. But the thing is, it's like you're never gonna get everything done, you know, like
Yeah.
stuff's always gonna show up. Um, so then I'm just like, okay, well then like do what you can today or like focus on like the main tasks, and then like focusing on like what you can control, right? So like if I'm
Yeah.
for a response is like, don't stress about it. It's like you can't make them answer. Like you can follow up, but then like at that point, what are you gonna do? You
Yeah.
know? Um, so yeah, it's just like learning how to navigate work and um also not like making work like your whole life, like doing stuff outside of work and like that's what I did this year. I started doing like piano and like pottery and dance. And I think even though that takes like my time, like after work, I think it also helps me forget about work, and like put my focus into something else and not always think about work. Also
Yeah.
start to the gym. Some days I'm more motivated than others, but like, I still go.
Oh yeah, I also started going to the gym this year. Well, I started in like August
No, that's good.
and this year. So I guess that was a true statement. But anyways,
Um, but yeah, yeah, it's just a lot of things, a lot of definitely grown professionally, um, socially. Um, yeah, it was the year of growth. Oh,
yeah, more growth this year,
that's true.
unfortunately. I mean, fortunately, but you know what I mean, like. Okay. So moving on to our yearly highlights. So it's only right that we talk about some stuff that we were able to accomplish this year on our podcast. So a few of the things, we've had a couple of guests on our podcast, and we are very, very thankful to have, had them on. A couple of those guests include Veronica. She was our first guest.
Woo!
And then we had our other friend Andrea, Emilia, Katia, and Sarai. All very different topics, but all very, I think, beneficial, like for people to hear about. Everyone has different experiences, and I'm glad that they got to share their stories with us. Um, different podcast topics. So we've had 15, well, like 14 published episodes before this. So let's see. Job search, lack of motivation. So that's where I was last year, okay? Living at or away from home, the importance of community and like organizations. Some we shared some of the resources that we've used, throughout college,
Mhm.
early careers, common questions and advice. Um, Commenting on the lack of push for Latinas in STEM, mentorship, working in a male-dominated field, the interview process, and then we spoke with our guests about grad school, being first gen, doing a fifth year, being first gen in industry and moving away from home, doing it all, very busy lives, and then becoming an aerospace engineer. So we've done a lot this year.
Yes, and yeah, we talked a lot like in the beginning, like just ourselves. So, and then having, like Victoria said, having the guests really provided other perspectives and other stories. So, thanks to our guests.
Um,
And I hope we were able to provide um just beneficial information for everyone so far this year or this past year.
Yeah. And we'll get into that, just like asking for what you want to hear a little bit later, but let us know at any time.
Yeah.
We've also been featured by UC Davis a couple of times throughout the year.
Shout out UC
So shout out
Davis.
to UC Davis. Um, I think it was like about our podcast. I remember they shared like our episode with Andrea. Love Andrea, that's our bestie. Um, and I think mainly that. We had an article about Latingeneira. More about that later. But basically the brand um, that I started to hopefully, donate those proceeds to support Latinas or minorities in STEM and engineering. And we were able to get our podcast on different platforms. So if you didn't know, it was only on YouTube. So we were YouTubers for like I think a good like half of the year.
Yeah, we were like not real podcasters. Um,
Um,
we were,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure nobody wanted to watch. So like,
I
okay,
would have gone on
put it on.
YouTube.
Yeah. Um, but we are now available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So no excuses, okay, guys? Please
Yeah,
listen.
support us,
Yeah. Also, we started at 0 listeners. Pretty obvious statistic there. But
right?
and now we're not at 0. It fluctuates sometimes, like with weeks and like depending on if we put out an episode. But thank you to everyone who does listen. And we're hoping to grow our audience soon. Um, it's different for different platforms like YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, but um, tell your friends, tell your family.
Yeah.
And then lastly, it was pretty cool that we would have people telling us that they listened to our podcast, like in person or like on calls and things like that. Like it's actually pretty surprising because I was like, oh, they'd be like, oh, like you have a podcast, and I was like,
What?
how do you know about that? Um, yeah, so that was pretty cool. I don't know how to react to it, or like when people tell us about our episode that we did with what was it, the college tour? I'm just like, oh,
Oh,
yeah, like we did a lot of stuff that I totally forgot about, but like when they say that, I'm just like, oh, thanks. It's just so weird, but um, just know that we're still very thankful, and my reaction does not express fully how grateful I am.
yeah, I would say the same. I've like at first I like in a way jokingly put it at work, like to like friends and stuff, because I was like, I don't know if they'll listen. It's a lot of males,
Hmm.
you know? And I was like, oh, yeah, listen to my podcast, listen to my podcast. And then they did, and I was like, why would you do that?
That's
Uh,
funny.
but yeah, shout out to the besties that support and listen. Appreciate you. You've given us an Ohio audience.
Hmm.
You.
Definitely.
Um, but yes.
Um, so yeah, those are some of our highlights. But we are always welcoming feedback, comments, questions, any topics, anything you want to hear, anyone you want us to bring on. Um, I guess I'll just put this out there, but we are looking to kind of expand our guest people, like our featured guests. Anyways,
Mhm.
um, with more majors. So I know we've done like mechanical, aerospace, electrical,
Mhm.
um, but we want to do more like civil engineering, environmental engineering, biomedical, industrial, manufacturing, computer engineering, material science engineering, computer science engineering. Um, so if you or you know anyone who would want to be a guest on our podcast and has majored or is working in any of these um majors or engineering fields, please let us know. Um,
Yes.
we welcome anyone who wants to come on our podcast, really. But specifically for these majors, we just want to share that experience or like expertise or knowledge for those who are listening who like may be majoring in these majors or are starting in industry with these um fields, and we can't really talk too much about them. Um, so yeah, let us know.
Yeah. I think you pretty much covered it.
Okay. Um, so we'll move on to our submitted questions. Number one, how has starting the podcast influenced or impacted your life?
Mm.
Good question.
Um, I think, well, like when I first had the idea of like doing it, I was like, hey, Victoria, like I feel like it would be a good idea if we did this, because like at the time, I was still trying to get like used to work and whatever, and like I wasn't doing much like after work, kind of just like cooking, and I was like, but we both like missed like that community and like being able to do something for like Latinas in engineering or just like minorities in engineering and STEM. Um, so yeah, I think when we first started, we're like, oh, like this is like a very cool idea, and it's like I think it's cool to see how we've kept it going. I mean, mind you, some weeks we weren't consistent, but like um
Yeah, it could have been rough this year. Yeah.
but I think it's also allowed us to like catch up with friends, like with our guests, like see where they're at and also listen to like their stories. And then also touch on topics that we probably like maybe wouldn't talk about if we didn't do this podcast. And like I think through this podcast we've also got to meet other Latinas in engineering and like people reaching out to you. Um, so it's definitely built like I feel like it's built my network. It's helped me talk more about like um, like our struggles and like just like advice in general and hearing other insights. It's like, oh, like okay, maybe I didn't think about it like this way. So yeah, it's like helped me grow also. Um, I think also when we're featured or like when we get asked to be featured somewhere, it's always good to hear that people like are listening and like
Mhm.
it is beneficial. So it's nice to know there is some impact. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's just like been positive since we started. Um, and yeah, a lot of growth, a lot of growth.
Yeah, I think I would say the same. I think my main thing was also like getting to talk about like some of the topics that I guess we wouldn't normally talk about, but we did for our podcast, and so we can share that information. Um, because I feel like you should share what you learned, your experience, and especially like advice or tips. Like I don't think you should gatekeep that. Like um, I feel like that's not a good thing to do.
Yeah,
So if you're a gatekeeper, don't be. But I also think that like getting to reconnect with like our friends and like people we haven't spoken to in a while, like and getting to hear like how they're doing, like I think it's good for like us, but then also for like people who listen, because they might be in the same boat. So yeah, I think it's been good. A lot of planning has gone into this, like not just like what we're gonna talk about in the episode, but like also like social media. Like I know that it's mainly me, but like um
like
um
editing.
yeah, like just like ideas like I want to put out there. It's just been like super stressful. Life has been lifing, so but
Yeah,
I'd say you covered most of it. Like I think it has been positive
yeah,
for the most part and hoping for another good year. So
yeah. Same, same, same.
um and also we've got more followers on Instagram. So and anyone who asks questions, we deeply appreciate it.
Yes.
People who follow us, there's definitely a lot of people who I wouldn't think would follow, but then they did, and I was like, wow, thank you. Um, next, I guess this is more of like a comment, but twin calendar reveal. So, if you don't know, Vanessa and I recently did like a photo shoot, a JCPenney photo shoot, and we have a bunch of like photos. Unfortunately, we did not get a calendar. So I cannot reveal that, but I posted some pictures on Instagram with Vanessa as a collaborator. So if you want to go check those out. We also have a couple of prints, wallet sized, and I think 3.5 by something. So you know what? If you want some, let me know. Okay. Um,
We did get a few. We did get a handful.
yeah. Well, they're in here, but I don't want to show them all because, like, I know if you're listening on like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you won't be able to see. So
True,
go to
true.
our Instagram and you'll see them. Sorry, Andrea. There will be no calendar. Um, I think that was basically it.
Well, thanks for those questions. And we hope this recap was gave you
Beneficial.
right. Give you our life update, and then our yearly or podcast yearly update. But yeah, if you know of anyone who would want to be featured, or if you have any topics that you'd want us to talk about or cover, feel free to send those in. Um, yeah, thank you to everyone who has listened so far. Like I said it in the beginning, we are very grateful. Continue to ask questions, continue to submit topics, continue to listen, tell a friend. Yeah,
Yeah. Don't forget to visit our website. Look at what's on there, learn more about us, links to our episodes and La Ingeniera. I will be working on our website. Hopefully by the time that this episode drops, it will be updated. And more about La Ingeniera. Um, right now it's just a Redbubble page, so you can go on. It's linked on our website, so you can go ahead and click on that and purchase stuff from Redbubble. Again, the proceeds will go towards supporting financially Latinas and minorities in engineering and STEM. So yeah, support them. Um,
and support us.
yeah, don't forget to follow us on social media. Me and Vanessa have individual accounts on Instagram, TikTok, um, I guess Twitter, but don't go there. Um,
I don't really
and
use it anymore.
and then our shared account, so Liera Twins, we have an Instagram and TikTok account. So if you find any of us on either of those platforms, you'll find the other two accounts. So
Yeah.
um, to stay updated and stay tuned for our next episode. We'll keep you updated on that, on what it entails for anyone to ask questions. Most likely on social media first. So yeah, that's basically it.
Well, thanks for listening, guys, everyone. Um, sorry. Uh,
Okay. We will see you next time.
yes. Well, or you'll hear us. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Bye.